that we find Paul promoting here. And it is all driven by the grace of God. We need grace in our marriages. We need graces in our households. We need graces in our communities of faith. We need graces in our communities at large. We need grace. And we need to be grace givers. Why is it? I was just, I don't know, inspired, or it just hit me this morning that I need grace so much of the time. And when I need it, baby, I need it. And yet when someone else needs grace, it's usually in a time when most of us don't want to give it because of some kind of hurt or wound. So in a sense, we don't want to give to others what they desperately need, but when we desperately need it, we want others to give it to us. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see that conundrum that's in it? And so Jesus tells story after story, parable after parable. You need to be thinking about being in that person's shoes when you're wanting to mete out justice, revenge, or anger, or cruelty. Think about being in those shoes and your need for grace and my need for grace. Well, grace is that cement that holds us together. Because if you young people, if you don't have grace in your marriage, it's not going to stick together. Church, if we don't have grace for each other, not going to stick together. Parents to children, children to parents. You need grace. You need it now, you always need it. And more, the longer you live, the more you'll need it. How can you and I grow in this grace? I'm going to share it with you just really quick, and then I'm going to finish up. Okay? Number one, you need to take the initiative. Hey, you need to take the initiative. I love where Paul is giving this command. It's in the imperative. It's a command. Greet, he's saying. Greet. And these guys are greeting you. Take the initiative. Don't wait for somebody else. We need to do that next week. We need to do a little more loving on one another. Still, it's a mystery to me. There's still people on this side of the room, don't know people on this side of the room. Next week, we're going to cure that. I mean, we're going to just go through and we're going to get everybody introduced to everybody. By the way, next week, because we're doing a series called Just to Walk Across the Room, you're going to have to walk across the room. Okay, we're going to do that. Just as practice for the real thing. All right? Take the initiative. And you think, well, you know, it's always been a mystery to me. Why won't people take the initiative to go into say hi, to greet one another, to hug, to shake a hand, to say something kind and gracious? Why not? Well, there's a lot of reasons I found. Fear is one of the big things. Fear and pride probably are the two biggies. Fear, what are you afraid of? Well, I've tried that before, and you know what? People made me feel awful. They didn't want a relationship with me, or they've hurt me in relationship before. There's some wounding there in the past. And so the way that I protect myself is I don't do it. So, in other words, for my own selfish desires, I tell God, no, God, I'm not going to do what you commanded me to do. I'm going to protect myself from future harm. I knew a lady years and years ago, 20 years ago, you'll never know the lady, but she always told me, she said, Tom, I don't get close to them church people. I said, really? How come? Because they'll hurt you. And over those last 22 years, I found out you're right, but you're also wrong. And so she is lonely and doesn't have the blessing that comes from taking the risk of friendship. So fear of rejection, fear of hurt. You've had a pain in the past. By the way, as I look out amongst the congregation, think about all the rejection that all of us have experienced from various and sundry people. Parents. Parents rejecting children. Think, how in the world could they do that? They do it all the time. I'm 52 years old, going on 53. I know what that's about. You know, some of you know what that's about. Like the only way you could get your parents' approval if you hit this certain, level of accomplishment, standards. Still nursing wounds in that area. Spouses have been rejected. Siblings rejected. People at school rejected. Still nursing those wounds. Here's the thing. We need to conquer that hurt with the power of Jesus Christ and to be obedient and being the initiators of grace. Don't wait for others to do it. How many times have you been hurt and you think, oh, no, not until that person does it? Husbands and wives, how many of you have done it? I'm not going to do it. She's got to do it. She's got to take the initiative to make it right. He's got to take the initiative to make it right. We're at an impasse. Who's going to be the one with grace and go over there and secure the relationship instead of continue to win your selfish war? Who's going to do that? Don't wait for others. You take the initiative. That's what Paul's saying in this text. And by the way, look at how he closes each gospel. This greeting thing is more than just a see you later. This is how we are supposed to be as a community of faith. I got to tell you a quick story here. Vera and I were stationed, courtesy of the taxpayers, in Germany. And we had a wonderful church experience there. Then for 4 years. Then we came back to the United States. First place I went, Panama City, Florida. And we visited this one congregation that we decided we're going to commit to. And I sat at home after every Sunday thinking, so when's the preacher going to come visit me? So when are one of the elders, the leaders of the church going to come visit me? Week after week went by and nobody did. And I started down the road of, oh, poor me. You know, I'm going to this church and those guys don't even care enough to come out and visit me. Oh boy, that's a black hole, man. That'll suck you right down. But God, as in Psalm 40, He lifted me out of the pit. He set me on a rock and He smacked me upside the head with a holy 2x4. And He said, Tom, here's a novel idea. Why don't you invite them? Why don't you take the initiative? Why don't you initiate the relationship? And I did. And so I started inviting pastor, elders, all kinds of people. We have people in our home constantly. Wow, what a difference. All that black, yucky, negative, gooky darkness was gone. And we experienced loving, wonderful, deep relationship with others. Because I chose to grow in grace instead of bitterness and criticalness and cynicism. Took the initiative. And that was God, not me. He had to hit me upside the head with a holy 2x4. What a difference. And each one of us, we come to so many of those crossroads where you can choose that black hole. And it's a black hole. If you know about black holes, it's the highest gravitational force in the universe and it will suck you into it more and more. It's so